Hello everyone and welcome to section 1, getting started. Now, before we jump into the fundamentals and the basics of not only just automotive photography, but photography in general, I first would like to go over the few pieces of gear that you are going to need to participate in this course. Now, there's a common misconception in photography in general that you need a ton of expensive gear just to get started and produce good results. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that expensive gear doesn't make a difference, because it absolutely does. But as far as getting yourself in a position just to teach yourself the basics, you really don't need to spend a whole lot of cash. So without further ado, let's break down what you're going to need. First things first is obviously a camera. Now, I started my automotive photography journey with a camera called a Canon Rebel T3i. I got this camera probably 10 to 11 years ago, and at the time, I think with the camera and 2 lenses and a camera bag, the entire bundle was around $600. Obviously, this camera has aged a bit, so you could probably find a Rebel T3i camera for around $200 to $250 with lenses, but they've made several cameras since then that you can also find for under $500. Now, if that's still a little more money than you're looking to spend, no worries. If you're watching this on a smartphone, or if you have a smartphone in your pocket, chances are you'll be able to use that to take some photos in this class. Most phones nowadays have a manual settings option within their camera apps. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but as long as you have that, you're good to go. Next up would be a laptop, a PC, or some kind of Mac product. Now, can you edit photos on your phone? Absolutely. There are tons of people all over Instagram who produce great quality work just editing on their phone. However, the purpose of this course is to teach you as much information as possible, and the thing about mobile editing apps is that they're often lesser versions of full programs that are available on computers. Meaning, the mobile app, such as Lightroom Mobile for example, is only going to give you about a quarter of the features that you would have in the computer program, and personally, I think me teaching you what those features do will overall make you a better, more well-rounded photographer. So for that reason, I'm going to recommend that you guys either get yourselves a computer for this course or utilize an existing computer that you already have moving forward. Next up, I'm going to recommend 2 things, and it's Adobe Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. Now, back when I first got started, there really was no subscription service for Adobe, so you either had to pay several hundreds of dollars to actually purchase the program, or you had to find some other way around that to get the program for not so much money. Thankfully, Adobe now offers these softwares at around $10 a month each. If you use several Adobe programs, they have a few bundles that you can choose from to get all of their programs for, I believe it's around $50. So yes, it is a little bit of money, but ultimately, I think these 2 programs, Lightroom and Photoshop, are going to be absolutely vital to you as beginning automotive photographers. Next item up is going to be something called a circular polarizing filter. Now, this piece of gear is going to be exclusive to those of you who are actually using a DSLR camera or mirrorless camera to follow along this course. I'll jump into a little more detail as to what exactly a CPL filter is in further sections. But essentially what it is a piece of glass that you put on the end of your lens to control the amount of reflections that show up in a car's paint. This is helpful for pretty much every single color of car that you can think of, but it is nearly impossible to shoot a black car without a circular polarizing filter, so I would highly recommend that you get one going forward. I've picked up several CPLs in the past, ranging from $15, $30, some can even go up into the hundreds of dollars. Just get yourself a basic one so that you can play with it and understand the concept of what it does. And the last thing that I'm going to recommend that you need going through this guide is patience. I remember when I first got started as an automotive photographer, I was so impatient to get better. All I wanted to do was just rush through YouTube videos, get through everything as fast as I could so that I could get to that finish line faster. However, and this may sound like a bit of a cliche, screwing things up is exactly how you get better. So if you are willing to take the time to go through this course, let yourself make mistakes, find those mistakes, and then fix them, ultimately in the long run, you're gonna end up being a better photographer. So take your time, soak in all of the information that I'm about to give to you, and with that being said, let's go ahead and jump forward to section 2.